Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to our LakePoint Junior High online family experience. My name is Pastor Ethan and I'm so excited that you are participating online today. This past week was likely a pretty interesting week for you and your family. Whether you headed to school on-site or online, or you're continuing homeschool, or maybe you even started homeschooling this week. But whatever this week looked like for you, it likely came with some challenges. I mean, for those of you who were at school on-site, it's really nice to be back with friends, but there's also the awkwardness of, how close do I get to my friends? Are my friends smiling behind their masks, or are they angry and glaring at me? Why does my teacher look like they're heading to the science lab with all of that protective gear? For those of you who are learning online, you can literally go to school in your pajamas in the comfort of your own living room, but there's also annoying siblings, and there's also household responsibilities, like maybe the dishes that you were supposed to do, but there's still dirty dishes in the sink. And maybe you have parents who keep reminding you all day that they aren't done yet. And so life just feels like you're doing homework all the time, and it doesn't really feel like you're at school. And then there's the homeschoolers. I still don't understand how you guys do it. Your teacher is the one who can also ground you and send you to your room. So how in the world can you pay attention to your schoolwork with that thought rolling around in your mind all day? And so, to lighten the mood of this past week and to help you get through this next week, I thought I'd share some of my favorite memes with you. Check them out. So, if you're feeling down or frustrated or annoyed this week, just come back and look at memes. I have never finished looking at memes with a frown on my face. All right, let me tell you what you can expect for today's family interactive experience. You're about to experience some friendly family competition. We're going to continue on in our new teaching series, and then we're going to end today with some family discussion. Now, before we get into all of that amazingness, I would love if you would take the next 60 seconds to fill out our online connection card. You can find it right on the main page of the LakePoint app. And what I love about the connection card is it serves as LakePoint's guest book. And so, whether you're watching for the first time today or you've been watching for a while, we would love for you to sign our guest book this morning. It's also a great way for us to stay connected, and it provides you with an opportunity to sign up and see our current and upcoming campaigns and initiatives here at the church. So, let's take the next 60 seconds and fill out the form together.
In 3, 2, 1.
Thanks for completing the connection card and signing our guest book. Now, let me ask you a question as we dive in today. How many of you have ever had a hard time thinking of the name of something? Like, have you ever had a moment when you're trying to explain something to someone and you totally blank on a word? And so you then try and explain to them the word that you're blanking on? Happens to me all of the time. And so what I've developed is a series of words or phrases that explain ordinary objects that I often forget the actual name of. And so as we head into today's family competition, you're going to have to guess what ordinary object I'm trying to explain with each phrase. This is a game that we have titled Raw Toast. It's a one-of-a-kind game where you have to try and guess the word or item from a different way of describing something that you know. Sounds confusing, but let me give you an example. So, my way of explaining ice cubes might be water with corners. And so, in a moment, on the screen, you're gonna see a different way of describing something, and you have to guess what I'm trying to describe. If you get it right, you get 100 points. If you get it wrong, then you get no points. The winner will be the family member who has the most points at the end of the challenge. Once you've declared your winning family member, take a photo together and post it on our LakePoint Junior High Facebook page for the chance to win a prize. What's the prize? That's a great question. This week's prize actually has two different items. For the students, for the kids in the family, there's a Tim Hortons gift card because I don't know a single person who doesn't love donuts. As for the parents, we have a series of books called Parenting Through the Phases. And so depending on what grade your child or children are in, we have a free resource for you to help make the most of the current and next stages your student is in. So take a photo of you and the family participating today and post it on our LakePoint Junior High Facebook group for the chance to win that prize bundle. Okay, let's get to our competition. Let me introduce you to our game called Raw Toast. All right, congrats to our raw toast winners. Why don't you press pause right now, take a minute and capture a photo of the family participating together and post it in our Facebook group for the chance to win today's prize bundle. Once you've done that, jump back to the video as we move into a series that we have titled Fam.
In the animal kingdom, gorillas often greet each other with a hug. Certain species of penguins propose to their partner with a pebble. Female lions do all the hunting for their family. Orcas live with their parents their whole lives. While every family is different and every family is unique, the truth is, they're still our fam.
Last week, we started a brand new series that's all about family. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I used to think that I had the perfect family. But one day, in grade 6, my best friend invited me over to his house, and I began to realize my family wasn't that perfect. I mean, he had the latest video gaming console, his mom let him eat candy before dinner, and his parents seemed to get along a lot better than my parents did. And it was in that moment when I started to think that my family situation was actually a lot messier than other people's situations. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you're starting to discover that your family is different than your friends' families. Maybe there's some tension in your family that doesn't exist in your best friend's family. Or maybe you know someone who has a pretty broken family and you've never really experienced anything like that in your family. Well, today we're gonna learn that no matter what our family looks like, our family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it. And so I'm excited to discover and learn together with you today. And so let's check out week 2 of our series titled Fam.
One time, my family and I went to the mall because my mom wanted to buy some clothes for herself. Whenever we go shopping with my mom, it's always just really boring, and maybe you can relate to this, because when I was growing up, we didn't have fun things in the mall like a merry-go-round and things like that. The only fun thing in the mall was the food court, but we went to this department store with my mom, and my older sister was like, hey, let's play hide and go seek. So I'm like, all right, that sounds like an awesome idea. So my sister, she's counting, and I have to try and find a place to hide, and I find the most perfect hiding spot. And it was in the middle of like one of those circular clothes hanging racks. So I had to crawl under, and I was short enough so I could stand right in the middle of all of these clothes, and it's a circular clothing rack, and it was just the most epic hiding spot you could ever be in. But then I started getting worried. I was like, well, maybe this is so good that my sister's not gonna be able to find me. So then I start kind of like shifting the clothes around and pushing it around just to give my sister a clue as to where exactly I was hiding. So I'm like pushing, and then I noticed like this really cool like wave pattern started to happen with all of these clothes. So I'm just like pushing and going with the motions, of this wave, and then all of a sudden the clothes rack just like tips over. And not only does the clothes rack tip over, but the clothes rack like next to this clothes rack also tips over. And I'm like crawling out like, what just happened? And my mom is standing like totally mortified that we have just embarrassed her as a family. Like it was pretty bad. But maybe you can relate, because your family has had a few less than perfect moments of their own. Maybe like me, you feel like your family situation is a lot messier than other people's. But can I let you in on a secret? We all feel this way at some point. You aren't alone. This is true for every single one of our families, because no family is a perfect family. Maybe there's a lot of tension in your home. Some families slam doors, argue a lot, or yell. Some families have a lot going on, but never actually talk about it. You just sense it. You feel the stress in the room when your family talks about money, vacation, holidays, step siblings, or any number of things. And that tension makes your house a stressful place to live. Or maybe you've discovered some things about people in your family that you wish you didn't know. Secrets about relationships, affairs, legal problems, or bad decisions. Secrets that have hurt people and caused problems in your home. Maybe for you, the problem in your family is something like abuse, or neglect, or addiction, or abandonment. You may feel really alone in those situations. And if you are, I want to encourage you today to speak up. To open up to an adult here like you're a group leader who can help you navigate that in a healthy way. Or maybe your family is facing other big problems. You're dealing with things like divorce, remarriage, a parent who left and never looked back, siblings who are always in trouble. Maybe it's even something like illness or death. Things like that can certainly leave your family feeling less than perfect. Honestly, no matter what it is that you're dealing with at home, I think that's true for all of us, that in some way or another, no family is a perfect family. What's difficult about this is that sometimes we think that nothing good could ever come from an imperfect family, that God couldn't use us if we come from a family like that. But as we'll see today, that couldn't be further from the truth. Here's the thing about the Bible. Some of the people in it are kind of messed up. Their lives weren't perfect, and a lot of their families weren't either. In fact, there's one family in the Bible whose story I love. Not only was their family totally dysfunctional, but God still did big things through them. I think the same can be true for us. The story starts with a man named Abraham. God promised Abraham a lot of descendants, and he promised to use that family in a big way. Pretty cool, right? Abraham had a son named Isaac, and Isaac had two sons. And Isaac had two sons, twins, named Jacob and Esau. All right, Jacob and Esau. And even though they were twins, these two guys were very different from each other. They looked different. They acted different. They had different interests. And all of these differences caused a lot of drama between these two boys. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Even though Jacob and Esau were twins, Esau was born first, which was a really big deal. For one, being firstborn meant that Esau got the birthright. Ta-da! He would be in charge of the family wealth and property when their father Isaac died. And second, being the firstborn meant that Esau not only got the birthright, but he also got the blessing. So that meant that he received the family's future wealth and prosperity. And since this family came from Abraham, Esau's blessing also included all of the promises that God had made to Abraham. Promises to make their name great, to do big things with their family, and to bless all the people through this one family. As you can imagine, Jacob, the younger twin, didn't love the situation because as the second born, he wasn't going to get the birthright or the blessing. Now, their mother, Rebecca, favored Jacob over Esau. So together, Jacob and his mom, they came up with a plan. First, Jacob convinced Esau to promise the birthright to him. And honestly, it didn't take much convincing. Esau was starving, so Jacob offered him some food in exchange for the birthright. That doesn't seem like an even trade to me, but haven't we all made some crazy decisions when we're hungry? With the birthright now his, all Jacob needed to do was trick his father Isaac into giving the blessing to him instead of to his brother Esau. Now, because Isaac was older and towards the end of his life, his eyesight wasn't so great. Jacob's mom helped disguise Jacob as his brother Esau so that Isaac would give him Esau's blessing. And here's the crazy thing. It worked. Isaac gave Jacob the blessing that was promised to Esau. Of course, when Esau came in a few moments later, he had no idea what his brother Jacob had done. When their father Isaac realized what had happened, look at how it played out. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he's taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing. Then he asked, haven't you reserved any blessing for me? Isaac answered Esau, I have made him lord over you and made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. Then Esau wept aloud. Trust me, it only got worse from there. After some heated conversation, we come to find out that Esau planned to kill his younger brother, Jacob. Their mother sent Jacob away to protect him, breaking up their family completely. What's the point of this insane story? Well, it's that the story didn't just stop there. Sure, this family was a mess, but in spite of all of that, God still had an important future planned for them. He had promised something great to Abraham, and a messed up family wasn't going to change that. Their family didn't have to be perfect for God to use them. Hundreds of years after this had happened, the writer of the book in the Bible called Hebrews looked back on the story. And there, the writer didn't talk about the mess or the bad choices or the pain in this family. Instead, they wrote this: by faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. Isaac did eventually pass on a blessing to Esau. It wasn't the same as the original blessing that Jacob stole, but it was something. It was an act of faith. Even though there was a lot of really bad moments in their family, the very act of Isaac passing on a blessing to his family was an act of faith. It was a way of saying, I believe what God is about to do in our family and that it's true. I believe he has something good for us and in our future. God had a plan for this imperfect family. And even in the middle of so much pain and so many problems, they trusted him to come through. And that's what I want for each of us. You see, your family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it. Seeing how God didn't forget about a less than perfect family back then can give you hope that he'll do the same for your family today. In fact, for a lot of you, the most hopeful thing about this lesson is that no family is a perfect family, but God works anyways. Being imperfect isn't the end of the story, which is a huge relief. You don't have to be perfect for God to use you, and your family members don't have to be perfect for God to use them. You don't have to come from a perfect family to be able to do amazing things. Here's what I want you to try. First, choose to believe God is working anyway. Your family will mess up. They aren't perfect. Your siblings will borrow your stuff without asking. Your stepmom will yell at you. Your dad will disappoint you. No matter what your family looks like, they aren't going to be perfect. The next time that happens, instead of getting frustrated and shutting down, have faith that God will somehow use your family anyways, that he's working for your good, that he's with you in the mess of your family, and that he can still use your family for his good. And second, stay connected to your family. Most of us tend to want to avoid our families when things get really messy. We stay in our room, we put our earbuds in, we keep our eyes glued to the screen, we just ignore everyone and everything. But what if, instead, you made the choice to stay connected? What if you tried to talk to your mom, or hang out with your grandpa, or forgive your siblings? Trust me, you don't want to miss out on being part of the incredible story that God is writing in your family. So this week, try to stay connected to your family even if you don't feel like it. Now, here's the thing. For some of you, I know that staying connected to your family isn't the best option. In fact, it's not an option at all, because the stuff that makes your family imperfect is more than just frustrations or annoyances. It's things like abuse, neglect, alcohol, and drugs. It's the kind of stuff that makes staying connected to your family simply not safe. If that's you, I want to encourage you to instead connect with someone who is like family. Open up to a group leader, a teacher, a neighbor, a coach, or any trusted adult in your life who cares about you. Connect with them about what's happening in your home so that they can help you take the next best step. I know that may be scary, but adults like your group leader are here for you for that very purpose, to connect with you when you need it the most. Remember, your family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it. God uses imperfect people and imperfect families for his good. I believe that's true in my family, and I definitely believe it can be true in your family too. Now, as you head to group. Hopefully it's comforting to know that you aren't the only one who has an imperfect family. That maybe the person sitting next to you has a story similar to yours. It's normal to feel like you're the only one going through something. But what's great about your group is that you can connect with someone who knows how you feel. And in the process of doing that, you get a chance to learn about all the things God is doing in your lives. As you head a group, I want you to think about this question. What's one great thing you hope God will do in your family?
One of the biggest reasons why I love reading scripture is because I find so many stories of God using imperfect and broken families. It gives me hope that God is using and can still use my family even when I don't feel like He's there. Whenever I head to a family gathering, I'm reminded that my family isn't perfect. And if I can be honest, I often get discouraged and sometimes even disappointed after spending a few hours with my family. But what I love about today's teaching video is that no family is perfect and God can work with broken families. My family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it, and your family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it either. And this is great news for you and I, because when our family disappoints us, or when we become frustrated with family members, or when we become frustrated with ourselves, we don't have to count ourselves or our families out. Instead, we can choose to believe that God is working in our families and with our family members. We can choose to believe that God will use our families despite them being imperfect. We can also decide to stay connected to our family even when things get messy. Sometimes there's a temptation to hide in our rooms or distance ourselves from family when things get tough. But God never ran from us or our families, and neither should we. Your family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it. And so what's one great thing that you hope God will do in your family? Let's talk about that in our discussion time today. Parents, this is where we're going to turn things over to you. In a moment, you'll see some questions on your screen, so grab the remote and press pause for as long as you need to create meaningful discussion around the questions. Remember that these questions are just a guide, so feel free to rephrase them in a way that engages your student best. All right, after you've had a meaningful discussion, press play and join me for some closing thoughts. Thanks for a great week at junior high, everyone. Remember to post in our junior high Facebook group of your photo of your family participating today for the chance to win a free giveaway. Just head to Facebook, search LakePoint Junior High, and request to join the group. If you aren't on Facebook, you can email me your photos to ethan@lakepoint.church, and I'll make sure you get added into the draw. Now, to close our time this morning, take the next 2 minutes and pray together as a family, and then head to the LakePoint app to access our weekday devotionals that go along with our series. You'll find those in the Family Resources section on the main page of the app. Have a wonderful week, friends. We will see you next week.